Well, turning now to the Capitol this week, we learned President Joe Biden will meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin next month in Switzerland. This comes amid tensions from the leaders. ABC News Political Director Rick Klein is joining us now. You know, Rick, President Biden made some pretty harsh statements about Vladimir Putin, and so this would be an interesting meeting to say the least.
I mean, harsh. He said that when he met with Putin as vice president, he says that he knew that he had no soul. He says Putin said, I think you understand me. It's a pretty remarkable thing. And given the attention that's been on Russia, given the last president, also given the suggestions that they're continuing to conduct exercises that would be aimed at disrupting U.S. intelligence, this could be a very interesting and high stakes meeting. I would expect that they'd be friendly on the outside, but a whole lot of tough messages delivered on the inside. Of course, we had the pipeline hack with ties to Russia, and there's always going to be concern about what Russia is doing with regard to American intelligence, American infrastructure. So it's a big moment for Joe Biden, probably a big moment for Vladimir Putin as well, given the attention that always focused on his relationship with former President Trump.
Yeah. You know, another big thing that President Biden has been up to is obviously discussing the Middle East and the ceasefire. Talk to us a little bit about how this came to be and the role that he and his administration played in all of this.
Quiet diplomacy is how they termed it, and for a lot of folks, it looked for a while like the Biden administration wasn't part of it at all. It was essentially AWOL during a very tense and deadly time in the Middle East. But late last week, the ceasefire came through. It is held. We've got the Secretary of State in the region as we speak, and trying to now work through some of the thornier issues. But it's a bit of an achievement to be able to get that ceasefire and to keep that credibility, given how the politics around the Middle East have changed as rapidly as they have. And a lot of people were wondering where Joe Biden's voice was throughout that 10 days or so that there were deadly attacks happening, rockets flying in both sides. But the negotiations behind the scenes appear to have worked.
You know, I want to ask you about that quiet diplomacy, wondering where the voice of Joe Biden is. This is such a change from the former president who, you know, was very, at least vocal on Twitter, we shall say, on his thoughts about things. Is this remnant, you know, Joe Biden kind of not saying anything publicly of presidents past? Is this a new way to move forward? Do you think this was just strategy opposed to him just being silent on the issue?
It's fascinating because you're seeing a similar thing where he's largely on the sidelines of discussions that are playing out in public over infrastructure, over policing reform. He's giving Capitol Hill negotiating room. And I think it is something that wouldn't seem extraordinary but for President Trump. Think about the Middle East. That's how presidents have typically handled it. They've saved their private conversations for private communications, and that's it. It was President Trump that really broke that mold to varying effect through his time, where he tweeted or have impromptu news conferences where he would riff on whatever the news of the day was. Biden has a much more buttoned-down style, much more reminiscent of President Obama, President Bush, President Clinton. Go back really all the way through presidents in the modern American times, and that's how they've operated. So Trump may go down as the aberration, but it is jarring to see a president who goes back to that now, because I think just the country's become used to having a president whose thoughts were shared as widely and as readily as they were.
Yeah, will be interesting for us to all make that transition. That's our time with ABC News Political Director Rick Klein. Rick, we thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.